All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the imho.love show. My name is Lou Angelwolf, and I'm your host. And right next to me, my co-host, Michael Murburg.
Hey, and the top of the Wednesday to you, Lou.
Hey, it's all good, man. And the show is IMHO means, in my humble opinion, and it's .love. In my humble opinion, .love. Love is a suffix you can get now as opposed to .com or .net. So spread the love, baby. It's all the power of suggestion. And here we are at the Tan Talk Radio Studios in sparkling Clearwater, Florida, right on the coast. You can listen to us in several dial locations. We're at 1340 AM, 1350, 1400. We have FM positions as well, 104.3, 106.1. And we broadcast the show live, or whatever you talk, the YouTube. It's on YouTube. We have a live YouTube feed. And yeah, YouTube's over here. Oh, we got a new camera for YouTube too. Nice, very nice. And over here, we're doing a live Facebook feed. So hi, everybody, all our Facebook friends. And we get several hundred of you every week, and that sure is flattering. So thank you so much for, and now I just lost the screen. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. And
go to YouTube, imho.love, like, subscribe, and pass it on, seeing that I am still being a victim of the Facebook shutdown.
Are you still in Facebook jail?
Yeah, still in Facebook jail.
Oh, buddy. It's okay.
Although when I'm out of Facebook jail, you can find me at disabilityattorney.net, which is what I do for a living.
Yes.
Among other things. But, here we are.
Well, the disabilityattorney.net, that's your law practice over in Tampa. And if you have disability needs, if you're not getting what you're supposed to get from the government, Michael Murburg is your guy. And it's disabilityattorney.net. Reach out. You won't meet a more even dude on the planet. This guy is the dude.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And I'm Lou Angelwolf, and really, really happy to be here. The phone lines are open. We're going to be discussing the Federal Reserve, our money system, and why so many things don't make sense. But if you do want to call in, it's 727-441-3000. That's 727-441-3000. And we'll be opening up the lines. And if you're still into toll-free stuff, we got one of those. Well, I don't know, I might have to blow the dust off of it. 866-826-1340. That's 866-826-1340. Well, welcome aboard, everybody. It's Wednesday night, 7:30. We're in Clearwater, Florida. It is tremendously warm outside, as people mention 8 or 11 or 36 times a day around here. But it is prohibitively hot. It was 96 on the dial, and whatever the feels like was 108 today, I understood.
108?
108? Pretty good?
It's pretty high. Let me find something. I had a friend of mine write her description of what late June in Florida is.
Okay, go ahead. Okay?
You can literally palpate the misery here. I'm ready for low humidity and the ability to function. The weather here is like climbing down a ladder into a laundry room basement with a dryer powered by a fire pit next to a swamp in hell.
That's really funny.
If the heat, humidity, and dipshits don't get you, the sharks, the sun, and the frickin' gators will.
That's what I tell people anymore. They ask what it's like to live over here on this coast, and I go, it's okay, but the gators, man.
Yeah.
The gators.
Yeah, and the heat, well, it'll take your breath away.
Yeah. They can run up to bursts of 40 miles an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
Good 20 yards.
So they'll come right after you. And the lightning. We sit out in the mall parking lot and guess, see who'll make it in there. Anyway, folks, here we are. We've been talking the last few weeks about we're kind of just reaching out to everybody, letting you know that if you feel the confusion, if you feel the pinch, if this, these years in the maze are making you a little dizzy, we're with you, man. And this is one of the reasons why we want to, woman, explain to you these little nuances of life that kind of just slowly grind against us like a jeweler's rouge, turning us into shiny little people who glide through the maze easier. But one of the things is the money system that we use and we've all agreed upon. It's a very, very, it is the most incredible contraption ever invented. And for cunning and brilliance and deceptive levels of, there's no other system on earth even comes close to the complexity and the audacity of this level of business.
Yeah, and I hope what our listeners have gotten from the last couple of shows is that this isn't something really new. It's been something that's been refined over the last 2,500 years by Western society to get us to the point where we are today, where we don't know any different or know any better. If you're ignorant of the past and a better life, then you accept what you have.
Yes,
as this is okay. This is what it is.
I'm alive. I'm sitting up.
Right, and you don't have to do that. And part of what we're talking about is that at one point in time, it's interesting how it's all coming together. We have contact, we have disclosure coming on, and we have the attack by what I believe to be the Trump administration's attack on the cabal and the deep state, and it's going deep. It starts with trade negotiations or renegotiating these grand partnership agreements that took away our autonomy and our ability to determine what our finances and futures are within the courts of law of the United States of America and put them in international courts. And we're actually, you'll be talking about the Fed, and I'm going to come in with, the history. We left off with Cromwell last week, and then and then we're going to, hopefully later on in this section, we'll talk about William of Orange. We talked a little bit about Churchill's betrayal, and then we'll start to get into the governor and company of the Bank of England in 1693, which created the model and template for all modern corrupt banking systems that are not owned by the government.
There you go. Well, it's a big deep night, but we're going to try to we'll thread in some humor, and that's it is at times some dry history, but when you really look, and as you're putting these dots together, these puzzle pieces as they snap in, you will see the bank behind almost every maneuver, every forming of every country. It's all a bank-induced thing, and every once in a while, the human spirit shines through, but you know what? It doesn't shine long without financing, because once these grassroots movements take place, they're quickly approached by a banking system and therefore slowly start giving their power away for human or creature comfort.
Or else banking systems actually go to the power elite and then loan the money and get things going. For example, with Oliver Cromwell back in 1642, he led a faction in the English Civil War, but before he did, he got the financing from literally from the Jews in Holland to.
Was this the Khazars?
No, these weren't really Khazarians. At the time, the Jews from the Sephardics from northern Spain became very active in Holland, and they continued to try to get into England. For example, at 1066, the Spanish Jews financed William the Conqueror's invasion from northern France into England, and he conquered France, and that was financed by a Jewish cabal at the time.
Okay.
So, I mean, nothing's changed.
Right.
I mean, that was 1066.
1066?
That was 1,000 years ago.
Oh my God.
Well,
and these types of government manipulations and what they do, it is to guide the people. And like we said a couple of shows ago, even the word bank is as literal as you think it is. It is a bank, like a river bank, and what is flowing below is money. and these banks control the contour of that trip. So when things go to the bank, they get redistributed. And there is, there's a minimal amount of money actually on deposit. Everything else is a loan on a lend on a loan on a lend over and over again, to the nth and microbial degree. But just to get just there's a great book. My son and I went up to Jekyll Island a couple of weeks ago, and while there, I picked up a fantastic copy of The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is a second look at the Federal Reserve. And it is one of the most fact-filled, incredible reads, and you will feel differently after you read this book. It's got some really, really strong recommendations. Rand Paul and Willie Nelson and David Nietzsche. It's a strong read, but take your time with it. And in the introduction, they reproduced a article in Punch magazine, which is an English humor magazine, and this is from April 3rd, 1957, and this is how it reads. I won't do the whole thing because it's kind of long, but you'll get the gist of it. And this is a Q&A session. What are banks for? To make money. For the customers? For the banks. Why doesn't bank advertising mention this? Because it would not be in good taste. Because it's mentioned by implications and references to the reserves of $249 billion or thereabouts. That is the money they have made. Out of the customers? I suppose so. And they also mention assets of $500 billion or thereabouts. Have they made that too? Not exactly. That is the money they use to make money. I see. And do they keep it in a safe somewhere? No, not at all. They lend it to customers. Then they haven't got it. No. Then how is it assets? They maintain that it would be if they got it back. But they must have some money in a safe somewhere. Yes, about $500 billion or thereabouts. And this is called liabilities. But if they've got it, how can they be liable for it? Because it isn't theirs. Then why do they have it? It has been lent to them by customers. You mean customers lend banks money? In effect, they put money into their accounts, so it is really lent to the banks. And what do the banks do with it? They lend it to other customers. But you said that the money lent to the people was assets. Yes. Then assets and liabilities must be the same thing. You really can't say that, but you just said it. But if I put $100 into my account in the bank and I'm liable to have to pay it back, so it's liabilities. But they go and they lend it to someone else and he is liable to have to pay it back. So it's called assets. It's the same $100, isn't it? Yes, but, and then it just goes on and on from there. Literally, this is the biggest 3-card Monte game all of us play. And so don't get real frustrated at it, folks. I'm not telling you to, throw up your hands and just walk out into the forest. But if you're frustrated by money issues, okay, just know that it's totally designed to be that way. And what you want to do is stay as debt-free as possible, unless you're just wired the other way and you can juggle finances without a stressful personality attached to it. This seems to be the path of the simple warrior, is to stay out of debt and lender nor a borrower be. Be self-sufficient, support your family, support your loved ones, keep your health, do the important things in life, and run a clean business, and the world will take care of you, because that's the way the world is. Good takes care of good. It just kind of happens. And consequently, like Michael's explained a couple of weeks ago, that karma is neutral. Karma is not positive nor negative. It's a neutral action or vibration. And how you manipulate it is the outcome of it. It's the reality of it. It's how you accept that neutral piece of information. So what I'm saying is when you look on the TV or you hear on the internet that you're supposed to be making more, doing more, spending more, you don't have a new truck, you don't have any new beers, you don't have new jeans. Who cares, man? Who cares? It's just it's a 24-hour machine that never stops chirping. Don't let it get to you. If you are good inside your heart, if you're sleeping well at night, if you have your health, you are so tremendously blessed. You need to stop and slow down, shake it all off, do some meditations, and be grateful, be thankful, because all this other work it's all way secondary or tertiary. Excuse me. Well, Michael, okay, so people, and I hear people slamming down the phone all the time over financial issues, and everybody's rolling their eyes at how much things cost anymore. So and this system was brought to America many years ago through England. In fact, we're just an extension of the English system, really. And so now I don't want you to skip too far ahead. I want you to stay on track where you want to be. But what was we're out of 1066 now, Charlemagne and all that stuff, and they're gone. Right?
William the Conqueror. I just kind of backtrack to William the Conqueror. What I've been talking about was Cromwell, and interesting enough,
I knew a guy named Ronnie Cromwell. He had great pot.
Well, yeah, at least he wasn't a dick like Oliver. I mean, this is a letter to from Oliver Cromwell to Ebenezer Pratt. And a Pratt is another word for ass. So
yes,
yeah. So Ebenezer the ass,
a pratfall.
So right, and what happens is that Cromwell would not take it upon himself to outright kill the king. So he writes this letter to Ebenezer Pratt, who's his financier.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, in return for financial support, I will advocate admission of the Jews to England. This, however, impossible while Charles is living, and Charles cannot be executed without a trial. Adequate grounds for which do not at present exist. Therefore, advise that King Charles be assassinated, but will have nothing to do with the arrangements for procuring an assassin, though willing to help in his escape.
Wow.
Okay. This is John Wilkes Booth all over again.
Yes.
Okay. And this is happening in 1647. 200 years before, we see this happen to Lincoln. And what happens is they contrive a plan to allow King Charles to escape. He's captured after his escape. And then Cromwell purges the House of Commons and then installs his own what's called a rump cabinet of 50 members. And they try that he's appointed, and they try King Charles in front of these 50 members, and he is convicted and sentenced to death. Charles makes no defense. He didn't even speak in the case.
Wow.
He wasn't willing to accede to the authority of such a kangaroo court.
Yes.
So they put him to death, and then
wow.
The God save the king thing. Eventually, Cromwell's son takes the throne. He dies, and then it's replaced. He's replaced by Charles II, who makes a fatal mistake in 1663. And this is kind of dry, but he creates an act for the encouragement of trade, which you would think was, hey, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
everybody likes trade.
trade.
But essentially, what it does is it allows the gold and silver that was in England, which was the money at the time, to be exported.
Oh.
So what that does,
that changes a lot of things.
Right, it does, because if you export all the money, prices drop. There's no money around, so the people with the money can come in and buy everything they want because they have all the money, and they've created a market crash.
Sure.
Yeah,
yes.
and they've been doing that. That's what happened in 1929.
Yes.
Same play, same thing, same playbook. And it's been going on and on and on. And if you don't call, BS on this, people don't understand what's going on. And what I'm reading from is a history of the central banking and the enslavement of mankind by Stephen Mitford Goodson, which is a wonderful book. And it reads, it's the only book I've ever really marked up because it's so much easier to mark it up than to take notes. And I'll buy a clean copy one of these days. But
no, you keep that one.
But God. And then what he ends up doing is passing an act of the encouragement of coinage, which, hey, that sounds good. But remember, we talked about the what the Romans and what the patricians did.
The minimization.
Well, they take in a pound of silver, and they were allowed to expand the value of that silver through coinage 5 times its value.
Yes.
And guess what happens in England in 1664? Same play.
Same play.
Same play. Give the same rights to coinage, and it allowed private persons and the bankers and the goldsmiths to mint coins and create money for the realm, which the realm had the perfect right to do itself.
Right.
But it gives the difference of the face value of the coins and between the value and the face value of the coins and the production costs. So the people that have this right of seigniorage are making buku bucks, and they're controlling the silver and the gold, and they have the right to export it and deport it and manipulate the market however they see fit.
And then coin it, use a minimal amount of the actual material,
right,
and create a less more of a fiat currency.
Right.
Okay. And I remember when I was a little kid, I remember really being somewhat disappointed when I found out that quarters weren't all silver.
Right.
Some of them were back in the old days.
Yeah. And in 60, they began to create clad. And
I'm sure that the Romans did the same thing with cladding and,
and that's how you can actually tell in history where the state of the empire was when they started to cheapen their currency.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we have corrugated edges on our currency, is because without the corrugated edges, people would shave the edges, called shaving.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't get the proper coins. That's why we have that, coin. They don't have enough pennies because pennies are worthless.
I thought it was for blind people.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they could care less about blind people.
That would be the best.
Well, that's be a
high reason.
It would be, but there was a time prior to the 20th century that really nobody cared about blind people.
Michael, you always shoot down every little beam of hope I have.
Sorry, these people are evil. These people are evil.
I thought it was for helping blind people know when they had a quarter. Well,
it's to keep people honest.
Well, and see, here's the thing that a lot of people, I mean, some of us feel really dumb for not understanding this and just kind of blindly running through the maze all these years. But people are popping up awake every day, man. There's people that are really recognizing the banality of all this pursuit and individualism and egoism. Man, it would do the world a lot of good if everybody would drop a little bit of that. I mean, individually, as groups, and and stop thinking that, you're so self-important. Now, of course, to yourself you are, but you really got to do a check. And man, I've been through it these last several months. I've gone through this personal metamorphosis inside, and you just continually try correcting yourself. I'm not a perfect guy by any stretch of the imagination, not even close, but I work on myself every day. And there's sometimes you just got to go through some rough roads with yourself, be brutally honest. And, I'm a big advocate of tears. If you got to let some tears out, man, if you got to let some of that pain escape your vessel, that's what their tear ducts are there for. I mean, it's, they have a high purpose. So if you're feeling frustrated with the world, it's totally normal, because this thing out here is vibrating at a different level and a different vibration and a different frequency than we are truly seeking on our inside. But consequently, we walk through all these energy fields every day. And apparently it's been happening a way long time. What are we up to, 1720 now?
17. Yeah, actually, we'll go back a little bit. There's this English Civil War is going on. And James II comes into power in 1865, and he's there for 3 years. And he is dethroned. James II's got a great army, and he's got John Churchill, the first Duke of Marlborough, on his side. He's got men at arms, and he's got no fear against taking Prince William of Orange on. But then all of a sudden, John Churchill, the Duke of Marlborough, deserts him. Mm-hmm. And this is according to the Jewish Encyclopedia. Okay, so this is like, no, you're a neo-Nazi producing this. Churchill subsequently received an annual stipend of 6,000 pounds. That's 6,000 pounds sterling from the Dutch merchant Solomon de Medina in payment for his treasonous conduct. He withdraws his troops, so it exposes James II's army and James's two too chicken to take on William of Orange. So he eventually loses the kingship to William of Orange, who becomes William III. These vast sums of blood money enabled Churchill to purchase the construction of Blenheim Palace, which was completed at his death in 1722, and where Winston Churchill was born in 1874. And Solomon de Medina, the person who financed Churchill's withdrawal of the troops from King James's support, guess what? He becomes the first Jew in the history of England to receive knighthood for his services to the crown.
Wow. He had mazel tov. I don't know what else to say.
Mazel tov. And I'm sure somewhere after 1722, the name Rothschilds appears somewhere in that family line.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And they have not left. And that's one of the reasons that things keep happening the way they do over and over again, because they work from the same playbook. And you got to remember, folks, here you are on Earth. You may have, should you be so blessed, you've got 40, 50, 60, 70, maybe 80 years on the outside into the 90s, and you have a life plan, but that's all it lasts. It lasts that amount of time. These people with their deep family bloodlines, and they take all this stuff serious to the quick, man. And they have hundreds and thousands of year plans. And their total plan is complete manipulation of the earth
and the subjugation of everybody in it.
And everybody is just going to work for them.
This is a great line, and we'll come back to this later. And I'll tell you what happened, what caused the revolution here in the United States in 1776, and you'll be speechless when you hear it.
Okay,
but this is William Shakespeare, and he's talking about written in Richard. Richard II, because Richard. William got us into debt. He lets the Jews back in and creates the interest on the money, which prior to that time you could not charge interest, and everything was flourishing.
Yes.
So
usury, that's what started this whole
usury.
thing.
You said they're 8% loan rate. This land of such dear souls, this dear land, dear for her reputation through the world, is now leased out, and I die pronouncing it. Like to a tenement or pelting farm, England bound with the triumphant sea, whose rocky shore beats back the envious siege of water Neptune, is now bound with shame. With inky blots and rotten parchment bonds, that England that was wont to conquer others hath made a shameful conquest of itself.
Oh, man. That's when you start seeing the brass tacks, so to speak, when all this stuff becomes very, very apparent.
Right. And now at the advent of all this, we come to the establishment of the Bank of England, which we'll get to in the second half of the show.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the imho.love show. IMHO is in my humble opinion.love. And let's say hi. I got Greg Ray listening. Hey, Greg Ray, he's a groove cat, man. He's a groove cat deluxe. He is. Kelly, hey, Kelly, Jesse, Marianne, Kathy, Mark Cottingham. Good to see you again, buddy. Andrew, Jonathan Jurgens. Hey, Gwiggy Standing Up. That's a great name. That's a good name for a comic. Hey, Drake. How's it going, buddy? Kathy, Jessica, who encountered something that I did. They wouldn't let her deposit cash. They had to go into Wells Fargo Bank. I think Bank of America does that too now. You can't, like, say you have an account there and I can't go put cash in your account.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what kind of manipulation that is.
It's ridiculous. It's legal tender.
Yep, it is. And I didn't want to start a fight. I was in a hurry. Vicky Knowles, Gus Yohannan, sup, brother? And Eric, Joe Cabot, hey, buddy. Hi, Patty Copeland. Pat Shanks here. I say, Patrick, I miss you a lot, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the imho.love show. And we'll be back. We got to let the news play. And there's some commercials coming up. We're going to be gone about 5.5, 6 minutes. Thank you for listening to imho.love. I'm Lou Angelwolf. That's Michael Murburg. We'll be back in just a little bit.
WTAN, Clearwater,
FM 106.1,
WDCF, Dade City,
FM 102.3,
WZHR, Zephyr Hills,
FM 104.3.
Listen.
Laying blame, Democrats debate. I'm Barbara Cusack. From the Vatican to the U.S. Congress and campaign trail, there have been expressions of anguish and outrage over the photo of a migrant father and his toddler daughter who drowned trying to cross the Rio Grande for passage into the U.S. Democratic Congresswoman Jackie Spear of California lays blame on Trump administration policy.
The president has one approach, and that is to blame everyone else. He is the leader of this country. It is his policies that have been put in place that have put these children in the positions they are, where they don't have food, where they don't have hygiene products. The blame is on him.
The Senate passed a $4.6 billion measure today to deliver aid to the southern border. But now the House Speaker is pressing for quick talks to merge that bill with the House's. Immigration, tariffs, the Iran crisis among key issues likely to be addressed during tonight's first of two Democratic presidential debates. Correspondent Steve Kastenbaum is in Miami, where the candidates' supporters have flocked.
Around the Performing Arts Center here in downtown Miami, the candidates' supportors have gathered.
I'm a Beto supporter. I've been following him for over a year now.
Lawrence Bell drove here all the way from Savannah, Texas.
20 people on the stage in 2 nights. That's a lot of candidates for one job.
Also here, groups advocating for a variety of political policies, like Olivia Reisner with the Tax the Rich bus tour.
I want to hear, what's your policy? What's your plan? I think that's what we all want to hear about.
The National Rifle Association's top lobbyist has resigned. Correspondent Sarah Murray reports Chris Cox's departure comes after he was suspended amid turmoil at the gun lobbying group.
Recently, he was named in a lawsuit, and they accused him of trying to be part of this coup to overthrow Wayne LaPierre. They put him on administrative leave, and apparently now he has resigned rather than going through with this, continued employment fight.
And the NRA is shutting down production of NRA TV. I'm Barbara Cusack.
At Indeed, we understand that when it comes to hiring, it's important to have a large talent pool to choose from. But sometimes too many good options can be overwhelming. That's why Indeed doesn't just give you access to a large pool of job seekers. We also offer screener tools that let you instantly narrow down your search. Hone in on hiring with Indeed. Experience Indeed for yourself today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting at Indeed.com/promo. Terms and conditions apply.
Red, white, and blue savings at the Home Depot means up to 40% off appliance special buys. Plus, up to $600 in extra savings instantly on select appliances. That means you can get a top-load Whirlpool washer and electric dryer pair, just $4.98 each. No rebate, no hassle, no kidding. Today is the day for doing. Red, white, and blue savings at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only while supplies last. Gas dryer extra. See store for details. Valid through July 10th.
Hey, did you know there's a live psychology talk show Thursday and Friday at noon where you can call in and get free guidance and also learn several different topics relating to ending the stigma of mental health? It's called Moments of Clarity on WTAN 1340 AM. It's with licensed therapist Tiffany Warner, who will try to end the stigma of mental health. But the only way you can do that is to listen to Moments of Clarity Thursday and Friday at noon on WTAN 1340 AM, the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey everybody, it's Bad Craig, host of Blazing Cigars, sponsored by Island Lifestyle and Tobacco Depot. Blazing Cigars is Tampa Bay's only true cigar lifestyle radio show. We feature the latest in cigar industry news, current trends, and cigar tips. Also, interviews with different cigar manufacturers from around the country. And of course, I'm always looking for my next ex-wife. So join us every Saturday from 11 a.m. to noon. That's Blazing Cigars right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network. Again, Blazing Cigars right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
If you would like to become a wholesale buyer of the premium quality longevity product that you hear about right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network, for personal service, you can pick up the phone right now and call Lola at 727-441-3311. Again, that's Lola at 727-441-3311. Or for even faster service, log on to tantalkhealth.com. That's tantalkhealth.com. Here's to your health and longevity.
Let's go bowling!
Let's Go Bowling, heard on the Tan Talk Radio Network every Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 12 Eastern Time. Sponsored by 12 Strike and Innovative Ball Spinner. If you bowl, if you haven't bowled in a while, or if you never bowled, why don't you be one of 65 million people have bowled last year? Listen to the tip of the week. Bowling stars, old and new. Let's Go Bowling Show, gobowlingshow.com.
Hello out there. Tune in every Saturday at noon on Tan Talk for Connecting Caregivers with me, Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers. Every Saturday at noon, we will find resources, education, and a shoulder for the caregivers. I know it's tough, but we can work it out together. Look forward to you tuning in on Saturdays at noon, where you'll have tons of information. Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregiver.
There's only one place on the radio where golfers like you can turn for the best tips, interviews, product reviews, local tournaments, and everything golf talk. The Golf Show, guys.
Hey, join the Golf Show, guys, every Wednesday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's not just funny, it's informative, it's celebrities, and it's a lot of applause. It's the Golf Show, guys, Wednesday mornings from 9 to 10 a.m. right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Don't turn it off now. You need this stuff. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'd like to send out a little thanks to our opening band, the Scorpions. It's a little song called Coast to Coast. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, coast to coast. From the Gulf of Mexico all the way to Tampa Bay, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tan Talk Radio, 1340 AM. And the power, 106.1. There we are. And, of course, we're streaming on YouTube.com. And we're doing a Facebook Live on Lou Angelwolf and on the oh no, wait, this is all Tan Talk, right? Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I don't know how all that stuff works. Kathy, help me with this. Anyway, and that's our producer, Kathy McGuire. Well, welcome back to the show, folks. I am imho.love, in my humble opinion, .love. Here I am with my partner, Michael Murburg. And we have been talking about the Federal Reserve System, fractional banking, and all kinds of reasons why your wallet might get thicker, but it buys less things. And that's just the way it's designed to be. So don't get all mad at it, because you're just, you're in the stream, man. You're going to happen. What's going to happen in the stream is going to happen to you. So just be prepared, be conservative. Just, a best offense is a good defense. So just, be aware.
Tough times are coming, and you got to know why the revolution is going to be the way it is. But one of the notes I have here is that the need for the privately owned bank that was created, that became the Bank of England, the initial money was funded by a retired pirate by the name of William Patterson. Not the American William Patterson, but this goes back to 1693. And in order to get the bank going, he wrote and had printed up a pamphlet entitled "The Brief Account of the Intended Bank of England," and which sounds rather benign.
Sure.
But he, after it's established, he makes this a stunning quote by saying that the bank has the benefit of interest on all monies which it creates out of nothing.
Yes. Still today.
Right. Still today. And that's exactly how it was done.
So the pirate figured this out.
Pirate figured it out and then loaned the money to get this thing going. Okay. So you can't make this up.
We live in Tampa Bay. This is pirate land.
But the purpose of the bank was to lend King William. Okay, this is the guy who allowed it to be instituted, who took the money from the Dutch bankers in Holland to create the war and was funding for his army. The purpose of the bank was to lend the king unlimited sums of money at 8% to enable the prosecution of war.
Yes.
So prior to this, the king has the gold.
Yes.
Okay. But he can't borrow any money.
For
and the
war.
only way he can borrow money is by taxing the people.
Right.
Okay. It's the same today.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. So we don't have enough. We don't have $850 billion to fund the army. So we run a deficit and we borrow it from the Fed. So we don't have to raise taxes on the people, and people are okay. We're the frog in the slow boil.
Yes.
And it's the exact same thing that happened in 1694. So the government is borrowing money at 8% to create war, and they automatically begin the conflict against Louis XIV of France.
Well, and now this is I don't know if this is an obtuse question, or I'm sure it's one that's been asked. Okay, now a government is forming and running and doing, and they are approached by a reserve bank style cartel.
Yeah, Paul Warburg's group.
The Wahlberg group. Okay, now is it the fact that now the governments, they were running their own currency at that point?
Yes.
Okay. Now
they were printing their own money.
They're printing their own money, funded or backed by
by taxes on corporations and profits. There was no income tax.
Okay. And whatever gold reserve or silver reserve they had was also in that backing.
Right.
So there was actually like a legitimate, there was some substance to this. This wasn't all just a kite.
Yeah, it was real money.
Okay.
It was the money they had was, by definition, money is a medium of exchange and a store of wealth. So they had both.
I'm a salesman, and I smell a sales pitch here. So I think what happened was the banks got in to the government officials, okay, and steered their direction, their business to this interest-based economy that would fund subversive moves from the government, all the while taxing the same people who don't want this war, who don't want this, just like today.
Right.
Okay. So, and we're at what, 1720 now? We've gone up from.
We're not even 1720 yet. We're still back in this. We're not. That's the War of Spanish Secession. And guess what? Here, I'm going to give you a history 101 quiz.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. When war gets declared on Louis XIV, question: did France have a usury system and a bank like England, or did it print its own money without interest on usury, without interest on money?
I don't know that.
Well, remember Libya?
Okay.
Libya had its own bank.
Yes.
And what do we do with Libya?
We conquered them.
Yeah, we attacked them.
Okay.
And there wasn't even it wasn't a fight. It was like, hey, dude, you're going down. We're going to put a bank in. We don't want a bank. You're going to get a bank. Even if we got to castrate you and kill you and put it on video, you're going to get a bank. Same thing happened with Louis XIV and King William III.
We don't want a bank. Yeah, you do.
You're going to get one. You're going to get one.
Well, it doesn't matter whether you want it. You're going to get it.
Right. So and
so it's been that muscle, the money. Okay, and those willing. Okay, you got to remember now. Okay, just think about your own. Just think about our own society here. Okay, like say you're legitimately doing business, you're earning, you're paying taxes, you're running through the maze the way you should. But then again, okay, then you meet this guy on the side, and he's going, you don't got to do it that way. You can do this, you can slide this, you can.
And if you do business with this, we give you money for the next 4 generations, and we'll build you a castle.
That sounds
nice.
Great.
Castle. You won't have to pay anything.
Nice
Whatever
castle.
you want. Nice
Yeah.
castle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big round room on the end.
Yeah, and
Pillows?
and you too. Everybody will honor the name of Churchill because you're going to be so rich.
Can I pick the colors like
Whatever you want?
Hues of turquoise.
Just let us loan your government money at 8%.
Oh,
of course. There's no inflation at the time, so 8% is pure profit, and they're loaning money they created out of nothing.
Yeah, I can see where that went bad. I can see where I can see where the human greed would have taken over, and people would have surrendered their countries and their well-being and their safety for personal gain, personal comfort. And that's really what it shakes down to. It's a collective of people so greedy and power hungry that they are willing to let innocent people die for the propulsion of their family line, and actually send people to their death because it's that blatant at times to protect the system that is running now.
Here's the other part of the equation too. At the time, the bank would receive from the Crown interest of 1,000 pounds sterling per year, an additional 4,000 pounds sterling being an administrative fee, and the bank also acquired the right to issue $1.2 million or million pounds in banknotes without any gold cover.
Dude.
So automatically you can issue, and this is 1.2 million back in 1694. And it would have pound sterling was a pound sterling. You know, silver today was like 14 or 15 bucks an ounce.
Right.
And figure a pound of that.
Right.
And then multiply it out by 1.2 million.
That's a lot of control, buddy. You got how many horses?
And nothing has changed.
It's, you know, and it's interesting. And when you really start studying this and you start understanding the attitude of those who participate in it.
Yeah, they lie, cheat, and steal, and they'll tell you anything to do this, which is exactly how we got half of the Holocaust story.
Yeah, right, exactly. And the things that they're funding, they really don't want us to know about. To fast forward a little bit, well, quite a bit.
Well, it's the same people that are refusing to disclose, ET or connections with the extraterrestrials. They're the same people.
Yeah, of course there's. Well, and it's beyond greed now. This is all about power. This is all about control. This is all about manipulating society. And that's the other thing too. I was talking the other night about how the media constantly steers your head in the certain direction that it wants to go. But one of the things that they are masters at, they keep us consuming, they keep us buying. And because and what it is, this is the game that the banks have established, this whole mercantile and purchaser. They've got this whole system so slippery. And it's also amazing how much stuff there is for sale. I drove down US 19 the other day and I passed 10 different car dealerships. And there are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of cars just sitting there.
Yep.
And they're all going to be sold. Somebody will buy all of them somewhere, somehow. I mean, I know that the world eats cars through crashes and mileage and all that other stuff. They get exported, this, that, and the other thing. But man, oh man, it's just what an appetite this whole thing has. And here's the thing that I think adds to most people's confusion is that this system is so big and so dizzying, you can only take it in very, very small bites. But what Michael and I have been trying to do these last few weeks is just let you know, put your mind at rest a little bit, that if you're feeling confused and you don't like what's happening and you got a weird feeling in your gut, it's supposed to be there because that's what they're building. They're building everything in on your fear. And of course, my favorite acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. Okay. And these are all things that you can overcome. We can even overcome our entire monetary system if we were so disciplined, if we had the agreement. But again, now what happens? You say you start a whole new thing. You hold the trust of Mike and Lou. And we start out with all these puritanical ideas. But somewhere, there's going to be a piece of greed by somebody.
Yeah, and part of that greed was the bylaws of the bank were carefully scrutinized to make sure that its purpose was fostered. And here's another quote that to fleece the English people in perpetuity by allowing the creation of the nation's money and means of exchange out of nothing at interest.
What a deal.
I know. And these are the people who created this that are talking about what they've done.
Well, you know, I've known some slick guys, but that's slick. You know, you print, and really what it is, you're getting paid for printing. This is this is the biggest printing press.
It's like, hurry up, we're running out of ink.
Yeah, right.
More paper.
And so what we've got, and now, see, now that we're actually getting away from paper money, and everything's digital now,
Right.
so there's really nothing representing it. All it really is digits in an account.
Right. And then you get to things like Bitcoin now, which is a digital wealth that's based on nothing except other people's willingness to put value in it.
You know, which is the same as our fiat currency,
Right.
actually.
It's exactly. And that's why that's why the Fed fought Bitcoin for so long. It's like they're honing in on our action.
No, right. But they fought them long enough until they could reverse engineer it.
Right.
And
then
now they're going to be in.
And now you got Facebook entering the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Hey, I'm going to ask you a question. You know,
ahead.
there's a commonality here, but the passage of the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 involves some pretty shady stuff.
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, if you can fill us in on what happened on December 24th, 1913.
Well, Woodrow Wilson was the president at the time, and he had been courted for years by the Federal Reserve. And finally,
By the bankers who ended up creating the Federal Reserve.
yes, exactly. Yeah, that's true. The guys that were going to make the play had been courting him and prodding him for years on end. Now, here it is. Was it Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve.
Half the Congress isn't there, and this thing narrowly slips by.
That's what they say. Some people say it didn't even slip by. It missed by one vote.
Really?
But it was signed into law by the president the very next day.
Into law on December 26th.
Right.
1913.
Right.
Okay. Now.
Well, everybody was in Congress and in session, just, you know, waiting for it.
Right. Well, it's Christmas holidays.
Right.
Everybody's
They're
taking
gone.
it. Yeah,
totally
sure.
gone.
Sure.
All right. Well, let me kind of tell you where this is going.
Okay.
In 1693, they've got to pass the bill. So in 1693, the House of Commons had 514 members, consisting of 243 Tories, 241 Whigs, and 28 members whose allegiance was unknown. About 2/3 of the members were country gentlemen, and it was believed out of the 514 members, approximately 20% could not read or write. Hello, Reuben. Welcome to my bank. The bill was debated in July of 1694. At the high point of the summer, when most of the rural members were engaged in summer pursuits like harvesting their crops, which was necessary in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And then on July 27th, 1694, when the charter was granted, only 42 of the 514 members were present to vote on it.
Oh.
Okay, and it was, and all of them were Whigs, and it passed.
Of course, yes. So that was their thing.
Yeah,
yes.
that was their Whigs had to be there. We're going to get the bill passed, but it was just like the Fed.
Yes,
it's the same thing. It's the same play.
Well, you hire your favorite shyster or group of shysters, and all this was put together because we'll fast forward back to Woodrow Wilson. There had been some runs on banks during the 1905, 1907, a lot of uncertainty in the American public. And that's how they sold this. They sold this as a governing sanction. But because they had names like the Federal Reserve,
which is neither federal and there's nothing in reserve.
Right. But that's the way they sold it to the American public. Again, a manipulation of language, and that's what the imho.love show here is all about. It's a manipulation of language to make the people believe in these shysters as opposed to the more legitimate shysters.
Yeah, come on, you're giving shysters a bad name. These guys these are bankers. I mean, you know, I'm a lawyer.
Banksters.
But let's go back to 1694. Guess what? You know, they're forming the Bank of England. And you know where in the bill the Bank of England gets mentioned?
No.
It doesn't.
Really?
Yeah, the bill was called an act for granting their majesties several rates and duties upon tonnage.
Mm-hmm.
So,
maritime.
Well, yeah, it's export and import. So that's what happens. The tonnage of ships and vessels. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's why all these courts, like even the courts of America, it's like a ship's area where you have to cross the gate to see the captain, and the judge in the court is seated above, just like on a ship. As for all these crimes that would happen at sea and practicing maritime law, our whole thing is based on maritime law, which, of course, you know that. But it's very, very interesting how even all these little manipulations are still the same. And this big, giant scheme that came out of England, it was 1694 that we're at now?
Right.
With that? Okay. It just keeps playing over and over and over again.
Right. And I'm going to ask you this. What's the next thing that happens after the passage of the Federal Reserve Act? The Federal Income Tax Act.
Yes, exactly. Oh, yes. Okay.
To guarantee the payment of these of the money that we're going to be borrowing from the Fed. So all of a sudden we have taxes. Now let's go back to 1694. Okay. All right. Guess what happens after the bank is established?
Taxes.
Right. And there were no taxes before that. There's no taxes. Okay. But let me give you some sticker shock. You're this like English guy that's kind of like hanging out and trying to make some money selling cows, making, and then all of a sudden they start taxing your land. They tax your paper. They tax your poll to go to vote. They tax salt. They tax stamps, windows, and
they tax your windows?
They tax your windows. There was a chimney tax. There was a tax. This reminds me of that like Popeye movie. It was like, sorry, there's a tax on that. It's like, so it's like chimney tax, a tax on hackney coaches. Now get this, tax on marriages, deaths, and births, and on being a bachelor. It's like, holy cow!
He's on the tax, man.
However, in the before the turn of that century, they imposed an income tax levied at a rate of 20%, and it was applied to both companies and laborers as well.
And that has slowly crept up to 30-35% for us.
As much as they want. And that's only, and if you don't count the sales tax, and if you don't count the rest of the taxes, over 50% of your income is paid in tax.
Yes, exactly. And again, touching back to the home base there, at the imho.love show, like I said, this is in my humble opinion, but here's what, and Michael and I have a very similar vision for the show and the information that we dispense, that you would find a little bit of peace within yourself and just accept these things. Don't let yourself get all red in the face and don't let the stress wear you down. So many people I know have died of heart attacks, worrying about money and all these kind of things. You kind of got to detach yourself a little bit away from it. And this is my psychology on it. If you're a good person and you have you give and you earn honestly, and you give out of giving. If you give without the expectation of return, it's amazing. I do that in my life, but it's amazing how many people pay me back, because I never sat there and, scripted out anything. I don't believe in the usury. I believe in human spirit. And I know in my life, I've had people help me out, and I've been able to return the help, maybe indirectly or, associated. But it's because I believe in the human spirit, that we want to keep ourselves perpetuating. And the information that Michael and I are covering right now is part of the reason you feel tripped up.
Yeah, well, even this week, we had, the president not going to war against Iran after a couple of false flag operations. And, hey, man, you shut down my drone. Well, it was over my territory. Well, sorry about that, but you shut down my drone. We're going to go to war. We're going to kill. We're going to retaliate.
But it was an unmanned drone.
It's an unmanned drone. But it cost like $200 million. So, you're on the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was no little drone, but
apparently you didn't return the drone in good condition.
We need the parts.
Yeah, we got a minute left, Michael.
But significantly, the pattern of attacking and enforcing a banker system usury has been deployed widely in the modern era and includes defeats of Imperial Russia in World War I, Germany, Italy, Japan in World War II, and most recently Libya in 2011. So there you go.
And that was the little bit of leaven that started this whole conversation a few weeks ago, and that was about usury, lending money at interest, and there's nobody better at it than governments. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the imho.love show. It's time for us to say goodnight. We love you a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in. However, we had a great crowd. Jimmy Schubert was there. Hey, brother. And Alan Shabowski, Susan Rill. Hey, Jeff Gilbert. He's got some funny stuff on Facebook.
Jeff Gilbert.
Gilbert, is that
yeah,
what
we're homies. Yeah, we're homies.
Oh, you're really okay. That's great. I thought so. And Richard Goldstein, hey brother, and Mark Coulter and Pat Largo. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to go. But we'll be back next week, 7:30 on Wednesday night, and we're gonna keep this show on imho.love, and you can get that on BitChute as well, which is a new thing,
and YouTube
and Facebook. Have a good night.
It's the wrong time and the wrong place. Though your face is charming, it's the wrong face. It's not her face, but such a charming face that it's all right with me. It's the wrong song in the wrong style. Though your smile is lovely, it's the wrong smile. It's not her smile, but such a